Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. We are filming today at Kwikwetlem City Centre Library, and we'd like to thank the library for providing the space for us to carry out our interviews. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that our interviews do take place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Kwikwetlem First Nation. So we thank the Kwikwetlem people who continue to live on these lands and to care for the lands and the waters and all that lies above and below. Today, I'm being joined by Elder Stephen Armstrong from Kwikwetlem First Nation. Thanks so much for joining us today, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, we have so much to talk about, and I'm so grateful for you being here to share some of your knowledge and wisdom with us. I was wondering if you might start us off just telling us a little bit about yourself and also about your traditional name. So you have a traditional Indigenous name. Tell us what that means to you.
All right. So we don't call it a traditional name. We call it for my particular name, we call it our ancestral name.
I've learned something already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, so our ancestral name is a name, like for mine in particular, it was born on one of the villages that's now underwater up in the Kwikwetlem watershed.
Oh.
So Kwikwetlem Lake area, right? So our matriarchs are the holder of our culture. And it was our matriarchs that passed his name on to me back in 1993, December of 1993, right? So, and this was at a longhouse out in the Fraser Valley.
Okay, so you're not born with your ancestral name. That's something that is given to you at a later time?
Yes, it is, yeah. You can still be a very young baby when the name is passed on to you, but our matriarchs pass the names down on to our families. Okay,
well, thank you for sharing that. And then also you do so many things in the community. Can you just give us maybe a brief overview of some of the things that you're involved in?
Oh, it's a lot. Like my biggest project right now is the cultural sensitivity training that I provide to municipal government levels, as well as nonprofit organizations. Corporations are also coming to me now.
Okay.
I have an organization in Surrey that wants to present a contract to me to be a consultant with them, as well as an elder in residence, working with the unhoused population. And they are a faith-based organization. So what's really, really lovely about this is that they understand that I don't have a judgment against faith-based religions or anything like that, because we all, how do I say this? We all have a belief that all comes down from one, right? It's definitions that has changed and created so many different beliefs.
It created so many complications and
Yeah, well, further definitions create those complications,
yes.
But, you know, originally we have many different faiths because of what people feel they understand from what they read or what they're being taught. So that's why I have no judgment against any other faith. So this organization is going to be really exciting to work with. This is going to be leading into coaching them about truth and reconciliation, as we know that's coming up soon, right? So they want to learn and understand, well, how do we create reconciliation with our local nations, right? So, and that's a lot of the work I do, especially with the cultural sensitivity and cultural awareness training I do, with the cultural consultation I do. I actually go in and I help organizations review their policies and procedures, and we go through and I add a cultural lens to their policies and procedures. So I'm not asking them to change anything legally. I'm providing more of a cultural lens related to trauma-informed care and what organizations need to be aware of.
No, it sounds like that's a lot of in-depth work that you're doing. And you had mentioned that you're an elder. You talked about being an elder in residence, I think you said.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, what does it mean to be an elder?
Well, first of all, the definition of elder has nothing to do with age.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the first lesson that a lot of people are really, really shocked about. It was a large group of elders throughout all the valley that said, and stood me in a circle, a very large circle of people, and said, this young man is actually teaching you the same way an elder would teach you. You have to listen to his words. You have to hear what's being said and understand the teachings. Because this young man is doing these teachings in place of many of us elders, we are calling him an elder.
So it's a little bit of an honor to be called an elder, it sounds like.
It is. No, it really, really is. And it took me many, many, many years to be able to accept that honor, to accept that the title of being called an elder. Right. And the reason why it took me so many years is because of my colonial upbringing.
Okay, so right. That's presents a lot of challenges, it sounds like.
For many people it does. For many, many people. And what's important is, remember, number one, we never had birthdays. We never celebrated this annual day of birth.
Oh, okay.
We never did any of that. We had ceremonies at different stages of our life.
Oh, I see. Right.
Right.
So when you reach puberty or maturity.
Yeah, the coming of age ceremony, which is related to puberty, right?
So it's more milestones that you're achieving in your life as opposed to every year having a mandatory day sort of set aside for your birthday.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. It's a different sort of perspective that you put on things. And you had mentioned about cultural sensitivity. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why is that so important for maybe non-Indigenous people to also be aware of cultural sensitivity? Can you speak to that a bit?
Oh, I'm more than happy, because as part of the sensitivity training that I provide right now, yes, I call it cultural sensitivity training, but we have so many people within the Tri-City area, especially here in the Kwikwetlem area, that come from many different cultural backgrounds. And then if you sit down and you talk with many, especially the newcomers to Canada, who are still fresh in their memory of what they escaped from their homes.
Coming from many different countries, parts of the world, yes.
Their stories, they say they can relate to the stories I share during my training, because it is all the same things happening. So when I say cultural sensitivity, let's keep that in mind, that it's all of our cultures. Okay. Now, I bring into awareness the colonial effects, right, of what happened, especially from a Kwikwetlем's perspective.
Right.
Because those are lived experiences and stories that have been passed down to me by my elders who are no longer with me.
But not so far long ago, right?
That's right.
It's very recent.
No, it's very, very, very recent, right? Yeah. So, like some of our elders, they still share their lived experiences with me. You'll see them. One of them is actually on a video on YouTube that Kwikwetlem put out, right? So the experiences are there, and I share those experiences in my training without revealing the name of the individuals who shared them with me, but these stories that I share that have the effects of what colonialism has done to Kwikwetlem is very similar to stories all across BC, all across Canada, and all across North America. So the land of what we call Turtle Island. So even Mexico is a part of that, right? And because their colonialism effects came from a different race of people, but it was still the same effects.
The same consequences and long-term consequences that stem from that, right? It's not like it's over and done. Can you talk a little bit more about this cultural sensitivity and how it creates a relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people? You spoke a little bit about people coming from other countries and how you can kind of have that common bond and understand some of the effects of colonialism. What about people that were sort of born and raised here that are non-Indigenous? How can they benefit from this cultural sensitivity training?
First of all, the way I give the training, I make it very, very well known to the class, like to my group of people who's training with me. I make it very well known that nobody in this room is responsible for what happened about the stories that I'm about to share.
So you remove that judgment and that sort of,
Because I don't want my participants to feel like that they need to be guilty.
Right.
So I actually do tell them, you do not have my permission to feel guilty. Right? And it's very, very important. So number one, that helps open up and
makes it a safe space for everyone.
It does. It really, really does. So after I go through the colonial effects, I then go in and talk a little bit about truth and reconciliation process and how I feel like that's a stalled process. So I'll talk about that afterwards.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
yes.
And then after that, and then I go into relationship building. And how important it is that, before reconciliation can ever take place, you need to build relationships.
Yes, respectful relationships.
And that's and we go through an afternoon of that, or half of an afternoon. We go in through that. But I cover so much of that sensitivity, including the trauma that Indigenous people have gone through.
Right. There has to be truth before there's reconciliation, I guess.
That's right. Yes. No, that's exactly what it is. All of our elders at Kwikwetlem, all they want is our neighbors to recognize the truth of what happened.
Do you think there is a recognition of the truth? Have we even reached that stage yet?
For some government officials, yes.
Okay.
For others, no.
Still a journey.
It's still it's still a journey. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen on both sides. Right.
Well, and we do have National Day of Truth and Reconciliation coming up on September 30th, and you have talked a little bit about reconciliation. Can you tell us maybe what it means personally to you? What is truth and reconciliation?
Oh, well, I'm going to say the negative first.
Okay.
Because I always end my stories with a positive.
Okay.
The negative first is I don't appreciate that a statutory holiday called Truth and Reconciliation Day has been created to give all these government people a day off.
Okay, fair enough.
I really don't appreciate that, because many of these government staff, employees, or public servants, they don't participate with their local nations. They don't.
Okay, so a little bit of accountability there.
Yeah, and I don't feel like there's any accountability to these individuals. I don't feel like there's accountability to the federal government who created this statutory holiday.
So do you feel it's a little bit hollow, symbolic?
Very hollow, and I feel like it was a check mark on a list of what to do, like the 94 recommendations.
Which has been 10 years since those. Yeah.
Right. And only a few of them have been checked.
Yes.
Right. So, but I'll get into that later. So that's the negative feelings I have about that.
Okay. And I think fair enough.
Yeah. But based on the negative feelings, now that's how I feel about it. So what do we do to help me feel better, to help my fellow elders of Kwikwetlem First Nation feel better? Or how about other elders who live in our Tri-Cities, who live here, and they're not from any local nations?
Okay.
Right? We have over 2,500 Indigenous people that live here in the Tri-Cities.
That is something that I think a lot of us aren't aware of.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that there were that many from different nations.
Yeah. So they're what the government calls urban Indigenous people, because they live off reserve.
Right. Okay.
They don't live within the communities, they live here. Just like with Kwikwetlem, we have many people, myself included, who live off reserve.
Well, and south of the border even,
yes.
Right? Like not recognizing that border there.
Yeah. And that's another conversation.
I know, border. We could have so many conversations.
Right. But I know it's going to be hard to fit that in all into one day. But how to make elders like myself to feel better about the process of Truth and Reconciliation Day is, number one, local community has already been showing their willingness to participate with our annual march.
Okay, so that's an important aspect, that a way for the community to be involved and to interact and to recognize truth and reconciliation is to be involved in that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing more satisfying and heart lifting for me when a person who's been talking to me for months and months and months saying, just get over it.
You hear that?
I hear that a lot here in Kwikwetlem. Just get over it.
I'm so sorry.
And but you got to remember, I come from a point of view, that's how they feel. Mm-hmm. So let's examine, and that's how I do it with them. So let's examine, why do you feel that way?
Are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm recognizing where their feelings are.
Right.
And then I can invite them to participate with not just our marchers, but let's say, for example, like Nunes Creek has got a great speaker coming this year for this year's speech. And he's a person I've recently met, and he is a really, really awesome guy. I know I can't promote, but I just wanted to share that I'm aware of what Nunes Creek. Yeah. So
it sounds, Stephen, to me like you're inviting people to come and join these walks, whether it's in Port Moody or in Coquitlam at Coquitlam First Nation.
Yeah.
That people should be coming out and participating in that.
Yes, they should be. Yes. Like, this year, the school district has already approached me and said, we're participating with you.
Oh, excellent.
And as an example, right? But my nation does all that planning. I'm not involved with that planning. I show up, and if Chief and Council need my voice to speak, I'll speak.
And you've become a very well-respected voice within the community.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're not speaking on behalf of Kwikwetlem First Nation, but for you personally, what do you hope? What are your hopes for Coquitlam First Nation and with respect to reconciliation?
Well, this is a two-level question.
I'm sorry, I know I'm asking you big questions.
Oh, no. This is okay. But this is a two-level question. And the reason why I say two-level is because, number one, I think maybe about half of the population are aware, because of the former publication called Tri-City News placed out a very, very good news article talking about the reconciliation process between the city of Port Coquitlam, Metro Vancouver, BC Hydro, right? And
so Tri-City News.
And Tri-City News, published that story.
And I think they're coming back in a different form.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I sure hope so. Right? Because the weight is on your guys' shoulder now to keep sharing this.
Absolutely.
Right? But so I have hopes that we can finally, as negotiations are going on between all of our municipal leaders and our nation's leaders, I'm hoping that a healing can begin, and that working partnerships, working relationships can now move forward. Okay. Right? And that's one thing I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? The other thing I'm hoping for is to be able to work with, like, say, the city of Coquitlam or city of Port Coquitlam or even the city of Port Moody, to be able to have, say, someone like me come out and say, let's plan Indigenous focus events and let's welcome the world like we did in BC Day.
Right, and that was a first time celebration there where it was a partnership, and it was a wonderful event.
Yes, it was. Yes. No, it was so well received that I think it made everybody realize that we can actually move forward with this.
So the community is ready for this, and you're asking the municipal government to take up the sort of the call and to maybe do some of these partnering events and things around town.
Yeah. Like, for example, to help support our local Indigenous artists, I could actually plan 3 or 4 events a year where we invite all of these artists to be vendors, because how I promote my fellow vendors is they do more than just selling their arts. Okay. They actually share stories from their cultures.
So we can learn a lot from that.
Right.
So hopefully the cities are listening, and and we'll see where that goes.
Oh yeah, no, because if you remember what I talked about at BC Day during my opening words, it's like we're all about cultural sharing.
Yes, yes.
right? And we need to be able to sit down and hear each other. So that's one of my biggest hopes that out of the Truth and Reconciliation process is that more avenues open up for cultural sharing.
More opportunities needed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, can you talk now, as an elder, continuing with Truth and Reconciliation, how do you guide that with your knowledge? Like, what is your role as an elder to promote Truth and Reconciliation?
Well, within my own nation, when I meet with my fellow elders and group, I'm ready to provide answers to any questions they have. And they know it's not a professional opinion. They know it's nothing related to my consultant company. They know it's coming from my heart, right?
Okay.
So they really, really appreciate that I can share that with them because it helps them to be able to make their own informed decisions without influence, without political influence or selfish influences.
Okay.
Right? And what I mean by that is like I don't want to see my elders manipulated to believe in a certain way. My elders are smart.
Right.
They're very, very educated because of lived experiences. They survived residential schools.
Yes, they did.
Right? So they need to know that credit is due. Right? And they cannot be taken advantage of. So I want them to be able to make their own informed decisions. I always try to share, this is what I feel. Like I'm sharing with you right now. This is what I feel. So that way it gives people the ability and the opportunity to make decisions on their own.
Right. Okay. And you have talked a little bit about survivors and their families. Can you talk a little bit about what healing would look like for survivors and their families? I know it's a difficult question, a difficult conversation, but with respect to Truth and Reconciliation, how can Truth and Reconciliation help with that process of healing?
Well, first of all, let's take a look at the apology that the federal government gave. Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Yes.
Many elders at that time felt that it was a long time coming to hear those words. But now, how many years ago was that? And what's happened since? So our elders who are still with us since that apology was given are now feeling like the apology might have been an empty apology.
Ringing a little bit hollow again, yet again.
Right? And they're feeling like the supports that could, like, especially when you look at the 94 recommendations, look at all the supports that were recommended.
And that was 10 years ago
that
these were put into motion, and they seem to have stalled. Like there's maybe a little bit of progress on some of them, but many of them...
They all feel like it's stalled right now, and decisions being made both by the federal and the provincial governing parties. And what I mean is the parties are in majority power. Their decisions are starting to feel like a slap in the face to our elders.
Right.
Because my elders talk to me, right? Not just Kwikwetlem elders. I'm talking about my large network of elders.
Right.
So because that's who I consult when we need to take a look at a regional level rather than a tri-city level.
Yeah, and it's disheartening to hear that, because I know there are people in the broader community that really do sincerely support meaningful reconciliation, and to see these, things start and then stall it's frustrating for sure. And that's sort of the government side of things. Can you talk a little bit about within the nation, how do traditions and ceremonies, how does the cultural side of things sort of contribute to healing? Is there a role for them to play in this whole healing process?
There's a role for everyone in my community to play. We have such a high desire from our community members who want to regain the alliance that they originally thought we lost.
But it wasn't lost.
It's never been lost.
Yes.
It's always been in our genes.
Despite the best efforts to...
Exactly, yeah.
destroy that.
Yeah, our elders are quickly realizing that during the potlatch ban, that
Yes.
law, many of our family escaped from Kwikwetlem territory, and they went up in the mountains. They're out in the valley, and they have their own families out there now. But they're all descendants of Kwikwetlem, and the teachings continue to be passed down. So that's how I got my name back in 1993. I've been involved in the Longhouse since 1993. I'm more extensively involved in the more recent years than I was back in the younger years, because I'm like any typical city-born Indigenous youth. I didn't understand the importance of going out and learning every winter, especially, but not just winter seasons. All events.
There's so much to learn, and I guess every season brings something else. And
it does.
You talk about gathering, and also like salmon and all the other nature-based sort of celebrations and connections with nature, which do we ever lose that? I think some of us have lost it, but such an important part of being human. So can you maybe talk a little bit about and I know this is on us, it's not on you, but what are some things that you would think the community or even individuals within the community, how can we support reconciliation? And again, I understand that's our responsibility, but just if you can share your thoughts on that.
Well, within my actual cultural sensitivity training I provide, what I invite people to do is, regardless of what city you're living in, reach out to your local nation. Okay, reach out and find out what you can participate in.
So make those connections, build those relationships that you talked about earlier that are so important to reconciliation, and get involved. And relationships aren't just a one-time thing. You don't just go and make a relationship. It's a long-term connection.
You have to maintain that. Like with the city officials, especially, say, for example, let's use emergency planning as an example. Because we have new weather patterns now.
Yes, we do. And living close to the river maybe causes some concerns as well.
Oh, no, it does. It does, right? So what I'm explaining to emergency planners here in the cities is you get in touch with Kwikwetlem emergency planning department, and you form that working relationship where you're checking in, whether it be every month or or quarterly, every 3 months.
Right.
Let's make sure. You want to make sure that you're hearing what the representatives of the nation are talking about.
Right.
Because our elders will be the first ones to tell you that there's something different about our weather patterns.
Yes.
Like, for example, we don't call it the Pineapple Express anymore.
Right.
We call it an atmospheric river because it's supposed to be more intense.
Yes, and now we have bomb cyclones, and it's getting more and more intense.
Like this morning, my phone beat me an alert that there was there's a hurricane on the East Coast.
Oh.
And so it's like, we're approaching hurricane season, but that's the first one.
A little early,
right? And so it's like, but listening to the stories of our elders and stuff like that, it's very important for these city planners to actually hear the stories that are happening. Our community members will often be the ones that know first that a change is happening.
Right. You're living there and sort of immersed in it. So so you're talking about some of those communications that are needed. Is there something else you would like to see from the government, municipal level government, or provincial, or even federal? Again, that's a huge question. But
no, it is. But what's hard is regardless of what I personally would like to see, I don't want my nation to feel like these government representatives are just doing a check mark on a checklist.
Right. Okay.
I want them to be able to participate wholeheartedly. Okay. Take off your hat.
Yes.
And attend as a person.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what means more to the elders and community members of my nation, is that you're there to learn, to experience, whatever events that we open up to and invite the public to, you're there to help and learn about all that.
And again, that goes back to the relationship
Yeah.
building, doesn't it? So
No, it does.
it's key to everything. So
Yeah.
to just have sincere, respectful, truthful communications and build those strong relationships. So I think that's probably, one of the key starting points where we
Yes.
can all do that, right? So we have National Day of Truth and Reconciliation coming up September 30th. And although it's maybe sometimes rings a little bit hollow because there was no commitment made really to it other than having it as a holiday, what would you like people to reflect on using that day in the spirit of meaningful reconciliation? And what sort of thoughts do you think people would find it helpful to reflect on?
Well, my hope and my dream that one of my council members actually supports is, let's have the city of Coquitlam work in partnership with My Nation. Okay, and for Truth and Reconciliation Day, right? Let's actually do events at Lafarge Park, at Lafarge Lake, like the same place we held the BC Day celebration, that same stage.
It's a nice venue, lots of space.
Yeah. Let's shut down the road that's going through the park, and let's invite everybody to walk with the elders of My Nation and the survivors. I'm first generation that didn't go to residential school from my mom's family, right? But that doesn't mean I wasn't affected.
There's still,
we have so many people like me who need to see that we're not alone.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, is that we don't want to feel like we're alone. Right? We don't want to feel like our words are being ignored. Yes. We don't want to hear, just get over it. Because my elders are starting to say back something else that became a very, very big statement on social media. And when people are telling us to get over it, they're starting to say back, well, you can get over 911.
Sort of putting it back. This is how it feels. And maybe not even close, but just a small indication.
No.
And I think we fully acknowledge, or hopefully most of us fully acknowledge intergenerational trauma, right?
Yes.
So I think we need to be aware, of course, that it doesn't end just because you didn't go to residential school, right? You're still feeling some of those consequences.
The discipline, the lack of cultural sharing growing up, because I grew up in New Westminster, Vancouver, like all throughout the Lower Mainland. Right.
Well, it sounds like we still have a long journey ahead of us. I do appreciate very much you coming in and speaking to us about this. I know some of the questions can be a little bit difficult, and I am very grateful that you walked through them with me. And I hope that we can talk again and maybe go into some of these questions in a little bit more depth as well.
I would be honored to, because my hope is, as people watch this video, that they're going to be wanting to reach out to My Nation and say, hey, we watch one of your elders, we would like to work with you. Yes, because my chief and council, what they do support on the work that I do is I encourage people to work with My Nation. The city of Port Coquitlam actually started creating programs that can be done in partnership between the city and My Nation to have participants from both, the citizens of Port Coquitlam and the citizens of Kwikwetlem.
That would be amazing.
So that's something that has already been a positive thing.
Yes.
Their fire and rescue invited our youth during spring break, I think it was, to come and learn how their equipment works.
So more of that, I can see the positive benefits there. And I just, there's so much more that we can do.
Yes.
And I hope we can speak again. And I just want to say thank you so much, Stephen, for coming in.
Well, CMCIN, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody has Israel. Remember that in order to move forward, we need to work not so much. You'll hear many of my leaders talk about that. You hear many of my elders talk about that. Not so much means working together with one mind and one heart in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and we've had the honor of speaking with Elder Stephen Armstrong from Kwikwetlem First Nation.